I'll answer the question in this way. There might be individuals who are fugitives from American justice that could become part of a future conversation. But it's also true that for government leaders inside of Venezuela, as the president has said, right, we want an interim government that will respect the interests of the people of Venezuela, that wants a good, peaceful, secure future for Venezuela. So I would just say it this way. For those who may be indicted, the best choice they can possibly make is to be part of a constructive decision-making process for the future of Venezuela. The best decision they can make is to cooperate fully and completely with the United States to be part of building this brighter future for Venezuela during this interim period.
On another important topic, the premier of Greenland and the premier of Denmark and other Danish officials are responding to a Twitter post from your wife, Katie Miller, herself a former Trump White House official, showing Greenland covered with an American flag, saying soon. After that was posted, President Trump repeated the claim that the U.S. needs Greenland for national security reasons. The Danish prime minister responded to this in an interview earlier today, as reported by Bloomberg, quote, "I believe one should take the American president seriously when he says it wants Greenland, but I will also make it clear that if the U.S. chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops, including NATO, and thus the security that has been established since the end of the Second World War." Can you rule out that the U.S. is ever going to try to take Greenland by force?
Well, let me go back a step. The president has been clear for months now, so I know you're treating this as breaking news. The president has been clear for months now that the United States should be the nation that has Greenland as part of our overall security apparatus. The United
States, but your wife
NATO
posted that like hours after the Venezuela operation. That's why it's newly relevant.
No, I'm not, and I'll talk with you about it for an hour. I think it's a really important conversation. I just wanted to reset, Jake, by making clear that it has been the formal position of the U.S. government since the beginning of this administration, frankly, going back into the previous Trump administration, that Greenland should be part of the United States. The president has been very clear about that. That is the formal position of the U.S. government.
Right, but can you say that military action against Greenland is off the table?
It wouldn't be military action against Greenland. The Greenland has a population of 30,000 people, Jake. The real question is, by what right does Denmark assert control over Greenland? What is the basis of their territorial claim? What is their basis of having Greenland as a colony of Denmark? The United States is the power of NATO. For the United States to secure the Arctic region, to protect and defend NATO and NATO interests, obviously Greenland should be part of the United States. And so that's a conversation that we're going to have as a country. That's a process we're going to have as a community of nations.
So you can't take it off the table that the U.S. would use military force to seize Greenland. You can't take it off the table.
Jake, I understand you're trying very hard to, which again, is your job. I respect it. It's great to get exactly the headline, right? That catchy headline.
I'm trying to get an answer to the question.
That says Miller refuses to rule out. The United States should have Greenland as part of the United States. There's no need to even think or talk about this in the context that you're asking of a military operation. Nobody's going to fight the United States militarily over the future of Greenland.
One last question,
Stephen.
Stephen.
Make any sense.
One last question. The president was very quick to say that the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, opposition leader Machado in Venezuela, doesn't have the support in Venezuela to become the next president or the interim leader. And I wonder where he got that from, given that her cutout, Gonzalez, won the election last year 2 years ago, overwhelmingly, 70% of the vote or something like that. Why does the president think that Machado should not be the next leader? Why does he think she's weak?
First of all Venezuela experts agree. All Venezuela experts agree that it would be absurd and preposterous for us to suddenly fly her into the country and to put her in charge. And the military would follow her, and the security forces would follow her. This is not a serious. It's not even a serious question.
So should there be an election?
Let me. If you give me the floor for 30 seconds, let me tell you what we are doing here, Jake. The United States. This is sort of foundational. The United States is using its military to secure our interests unapologetically in our hemisphere. We're a superpower, and under President Trump, we are going to conduct ourselves as a superpower. It is absurd that we would allow a nation in our own backyard to become the supplier of resources to our adversaries, but not to us, to hoard weapons from our adversaries, to be able to be positioned as an asset against the United States rather than on behalf of the United States.
Sovereign countries shouldn't be able to do what they want to do.
The Monroe Doctrine and the Trump Doctrine is all about securing the national interests of America. For years, we sent our soldiers to die in deserts in the Middle East to try to build them parliaments, to try to build them democracies, to try to give them more oil, to try to give them more resources. The future of the free world, Jake, depends on America being able to assert ourselves and our interests without apology. This whole period that happened after World War II, where the West began apologizing and groveling and begging
I don't even
and
know,
engaging these
honestly,
mass
what you're talking about right
schemes,
now.
What I'm talking about, Jake, is the idea. And by the way, you do. I know you love doing that smarmy thing, Jake, and I was hoping to be better than that this time.
I asked you about if there should be an election.
Exactly.
I asked you if there would be an election in Venezuela. That's what I asked. I said, why was the president so quick to dismiss Machado? You answered that question. And then I said,
the objective, Jake, is security and stability for the people of Venezuela. With our help and leadership, that country will become more prosperous.
Well, there you go. I really am
horrified.
I'm astounded at the window into the Trump administration and the thinking, which is simply might makes right. It was the point that I was making when this whole thing first started, that this really is a vision of the world that is all about hard power. You know, after World War II, I don't know what he's talking about with, apologies for this. And I mean, Germany was in a period of, one thing I hate doing is trying to figure out what these people are saying and trying to build the argument for them. But, Germany had a reckoning post-World War II, and the alliances that built to fight the despotism, the fascism, the genocide that was part of World War II, those entities and those countries and those alliances endured. And largely, it was a rebuilding process. I mean, Japan was rebuilt, the Marshall Plan. You talk about all of these ways in which the European Union rose from the ashes of World War II to where we are today. It's largely soft power, and that's been the strength of the U.S. with the robust economy that the U.S. has and the threat militarily that the U.S. has. Soft power has been such an effective way in which diplomacy's been pursued and a way in which change has been brought about. But that's gone. And what you're seeing in Stephen Miller and what you're hearing in Trump is the return of hard power. We want a hot war. We want to bring in troops. No one's going to fight the U.S. military, is what he said. And on the strength of that, these chess pieces are being pushed all around the world. And Venezuela, Colombia's being threatened now, in Trump rhetoric anyway, Mexico as well, Greenland. I'd watch the Panama Canal quite closely if I were you. These are all things that are going on. And this is a return to almost a kind of Soviet-era style of pursuing aims that enrich America without regard to the effects. That's why he talks about we're looking for a secure Venezuela for the people of Venezuela. I'm thinking, what? You've left in the same power structure that was a problem before to the people of Venezuela if you viewed that power structure as an issue. I mean, there's no question Maduro, awful dictator, but that's not what this is about. This isn't about that. If I'm Zelensky in Ukraine right now, I'm thinking that I've just been effed by the Trump administration, says Randy. This gives Russia green light to take Ukraine. I mean, it's definitely there's a new king, and he's noisy. So the Greenland thing, just because we started with it, I don't know if we want it, but they did actually speak to this. The NATO alliance drafted a statement saying that the NATO alliance is something sacred and that the NATO alliance cannot be violated, and that if there were actions taken against Greenland or Denmark, that would be an action against the NATO alliance from a NATO ally, the Americans. And of course, somebody mentioned Taiwan. That's exactly right. I mean, this really does set the stage for China to move into Taiwan. If you have no problem with the justification associated with moving into a sovereign country like Venezuela, talking about Colombia, talking about Mexico, etc., then you really can't clap back at the Chinese when it comes to Taiwan. Miller is the Lex Luthor of the Trump administration, says John Watson. Play me the Greenland statement. Will you, Tony, do you have it? Here's a little bit of it.
I would like to take this opportunity to send a message directly to the United States of America. The US is a big country and Denmark is a small one. And you have inspired us. Because since the Second World War, you have defended the free world, created prosperity and progress, peace and freedom. And we have tried to give back to you.
Mette Frederiksen, who's the leader of Denmark.
Yeah, and so what she's graceful and diplomatic and opens with a compliment. And America, you've always been a force for such greatness. You've helped us, and all the things that are true. I mean, the history of America, as far as the NATO alliance is concerned, is one of tremendous stability. And now, she's saying, this is, basically what's going on here, right? So
she says that Trump should be taken seriously on Greenland. She's looking at this as, okay, I'm going to take you at your word. You say you this is where you're coming. This is where you're coming from. I'm going to meet you right there.
Yeah. It seems like such a remarkable reach. But again, in the world of Trump, it's all about the move and the flex and the ego play, and less about what happens afterward. I mean, I get, let's just go back to Venezuela for a second. I get that it's oil and the oil company executives are meeting with Trump, and he's going to try to work out some cooperative agreement, and he's talking about reimbursing the oil companies for investments in Venezuela, even though, as we've said, it's a far more complex situation economically and from the standpoint of infrastructure and from the standpoint of stability and violence, political violence, and violence around these oil. This isn't a country that's just going to lie down and go, oh, the Americans are here. Okay, I guess that's it. I mean, this could really be dicey as you move into some of these areas. So, there's all of that. And there's also the petrodollar. I mean, the idea somehow that and this is particularly relevant when it comes to Europe and a changing relationship with the Americans. Oil is traded in dollars, and it's a huge advantage that the Americans have. We have this advantage that American currency is valuable in large measure because that's what energy is traded in. These US dollars, petrodollars. So the idea that you are beginning to undermine that in any way is something we've always protected against. And so the idea is that essentially Venezuela, Russia, they've been trying to do this for a while. China would love to see, is it the yuan? Is how you say that? They'd love to see that be used in buying energy. The U.S. dollar dominance when it comes to energy is something that the rest of the world, parts of the rest of the world, like Russia, would like to get away from. So back to Venezuela. If you can control that oil, and that's not traded in dollars, right? These are, again, that's a sanctioned nation that has to trade with specific partners. So they don't have to do it in dollars. If you can control that, now they do have to trade that oil in dollars. That's a way to reassert the power of the petrodollar. That's essentially the way that works. We are lucky that no foreign power is taking advantage of the chaos and incompetence of this administration and attacking us, says Mike and Willow Glen. I think that's next, honestly. I think that is on the agenda. I mean, this really is a group that's filled with incompetence and those who just want to peacock at press conferences. What do we do when oil is traded in euros? Exactly. I mean, this is what, this I do feel is something that is a real risk. And I think the Trump administration, people who are a little bit smarter there, they worry about this as well. I mean, this is a real concern. The undermining of the U.S. dollar as a currency of trade when it comes to energy is something that's been concerning many in American government for a while, because many countries in the world don't like the simple dominance that the Americans have by virtue of the fact that their currency, American currency, is the currency used. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, says Tim. Yeah, in relation to Greenland, yeah, very, very true. It's so wild because there's not widespread support for this at all. You have the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing, Tony? Can we run just a taste of that? This is Marjorie Taylor. This is short, but you can, she kind of calls it out, saying this isn't America first. What is this? She's Queen MAGA, right? And here were her comments related to Venezuela.
The same Washington playbook that we are so sick and tired of, that doesn't serve the American people, but actually serves the big corporations, the banks, and the oil executives. We don't consider Venezuela our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is right here in the 50 United States, not in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair way to look at it. And there is a lot of MAGA that feels that way.